So I'm going to be joined in a second by Bridget here, who's one of our cardiac specialist nurses at University Hospitals in Leicester. Keep using that for this. So what do we want to do after this session? We want to learn what abnormalities in the heart actually cause these conditions, be alert to the warning signs, and to see if we can tease out, which you can't always, but in some patients, the likelihood of it being a simple faint versus a cardiac collapse. And to know at what point do we need to refer to our cardiology colleagues. And that's quite a difficult judgment decision for us in the A&E department and for GPs, I think. So you're going to see, don't worry about this slide being busy, because you're going to see it pop up a lot, because we're going to just work our way down this list of conditions and tell you a little bit about them. Essentially, if you've got an abnormally shaped heart, an abnormally constructed heart, for whatever reason, it's more likely to suffer from arrhythmias than a normal heart. So there may be a structural problem. Or it may be that in the electrical conduction system, there's a problem with the way that the electricity conducts down the heart, or the actual cells of the heart, the cells that make up the muscles of the heart, in themselves might have a problem with the transmitters that cause them to do their job. So those are called ion channelopathies. And that's my quite simplistic way of breaking down what different factors can cause a heart to have an arrhythmia. And what we're going to do is walk you down some of these conditions. There are other things that can cause a young person's heart to stop, but I wasn't going to spend much time on those today because it's kind of obvious really that if you start a new medication that has this as a side effect, then that's what's caused it. It doesn't mean you're necessarily prone to it, although we do think that there's a subgroup of people who are particularly prone because they have got an underlying problem. And the medication, just like the sport, exposes it, which is an interesting thing, because we've always said, oh, that medication caused that cardiac arrest or caused that arrhythmia. Well, why did it? Because an awful lot of people on that medication who didn't have a problem. So it's just starting to think like that. Also, if you have an infection, a virus that actually directly infects your heart, then obviously you're going to have more likely to have an arrhythmia and die from that infection. And this one is about if you get directly hit in the heart. So if you're hit very heavily on the front of the chest, it can cause your heart to go into ventricular fibrillation. You can have cardiac arrest from that cause. But those are fairly obvious, so we're not going to really spend any time on those. So for our SADS conditions, what brings a person to medical care? That might be the school nurse, it might be the university nurse, it might be the GP, it might be us in the A&E department. So the funny term is quite a common situation. Now, why might somebody be labelled as having a fit? Well, when your blood pressure vanishes and your brain is starved of blood and of oxygen, it's not uncommon as you go down to have a few jerks. And we're starting to realise that over the years, a lot of people have been mislabelled as having a fit, when actually they didn't. Maybe a faint, which might just get written off as just one of those things. Or, unfortunately, like Joe might present for the very first time, as the first symptom, as a full cardiac arrest. As I said, shortness of breath and chest pain, certainly for us in A&E, is a less common presentation. So, back as far as 2010, NICE, which is, if you haven't heard of it, is National Guidelines Committee, but NICE realised that actually it's quite important that we sort out these transient losses of consciousness and these blackouts. It's quite important that we work out which ones are cardiac, which ones were a simple faint, and which ones might actually be some sort of seizure. So guidelines were set up. And the way I certainly teach it at work is if you get the events, ideally from somebody firsthand who's seen it happen, and you find out what was the warning signs, what happened beforehand, what happened during, and what happened next after the event, it will start to give you some clues as to the likely cause of that event. So you need to take quite a lot of detail about what happened, what actually happened. And then you need to add in a few red flags. If you're going searching for SADS conditions, you need to actually find out, have they had anything like that before? If it did happen before, when did it happen? Did it happen on exercise? Did it happen after exercise? Because that's a red flag. And find out about family members. And this is always the difficult bit for us as nurses and doctors, because you do actually have to ask, have there been any unexplained sudden deaths for young people or children in your family? And of course, you've already now opened the can of worms. They've already realised you're going down a certain avenue of questioning, which is not comfortable for the person you're asking. But it's really important, because we need them to stop and think. Aunties, uncles, cousins, you know, oh yeah, I remember my cousin, it was before I was born, aged 8, something happened. You've got to get them thinking, because they need to stop and think about this question. And if we do see people under the age of, well, even 25, 30, really, in a lot of places, you just don't think of doing an ECG, because an ECG is what older people have wrong with them when they have the older style of proper heart attack from ischemic heart disease. And what we need to do, so, I mean, in our A&E department, I don't think you can walk in and say you've got a sore toe without getting an ECG. But certainly in our children's wards, if somebody's admitted with a collapse, do they think of doing an ECG? For a lot of children's wards, you go asking for the ECG machine and they've got to go 6 miles down the corridor and dust it off. So we do need to get a little bit of awareness in the under 18s that an ECG sometimes is needed. And how do we tell the difference between a faint and actually a cardiac cause of collapse? Well, we all know what causes faints. There's probably hardly a person in the room here who hasn't felt faint at some time in their life. It's all the normal things. There's provoking factors. You're too hot, you missed breakfast, you're in pain, or you're stressed, or you're watching something go on that's something that's unpleasant to you, or you've just had your blood taken, or something like that. That's what causes faints. People in funerals, people standing up for too long, biology lessons at school, that kind of thing that causes faints. And the person who's fainted will tell you that they could sense it was happening. So they don't go down like Mikos Fairhead did. They say, oh, I started to feel woozy, I thought I was going to faint, I wasn't sure if I should tell anybody, and then I blacked out. And the next thing I woke up on the floor and everybody was asking me if I was all right. That's a faint, that's a normal faint. And usually we've been standing up in the first place. As the poor guy was before he hit death. If you look at the cardiac causes of faint, firstly, if it's ever related to exercise, that's not normal faints, that's an alarm bell. No warning symptoms quite often. They don't feel the palpitations first, it's straight out for a lot of these serious arrhythmias. Will usually be described as pale. Now unfortunately our fainting brigade often gets described as pale. And then if the heart comes out of the rhythm by itself, they'll do what the young lad with the defibrillator did. 30 seconds later, what was that all about? Whereas the fainting person will still be a little bit sweaty and takes a while to come around. And then we're going to go over our previous history and family history in order to find out, is there anything else going on here? What about an actual fit? Well, contrary to the medical textbooks that are always telling us about people getting a sense they're going to have a fit, that's in 26 years of emergency medicine, I don't hear people say, I knew I was going to have a fit. They just come out of the blue. Sudden collapse. But in contrast to a few jerks that you might get when you're feeling faint, it's prolonged jerking. It's fairly obvious, it's scary. They were jerking all over, both arms, both legs. It carries on 1 to 3 minutes, and you'll get a class of things like incontinence and tongue biting. And then the next bit is the important bit, because anybody I've ever known who's had a fit has woken up with a headache and been really quite confused for a period of time. You wake up from a faint and you're not quite with it, but you can remember everyone saying, are you okay? You feel embarrassed because, you know, everyone's making a big fuss. But people who've had a fit are usually properly confused for a good long while, at least 10 minutes, and will have zero memory of the event at all. So if you bother to take the amount of detail, you probably can start to sort out your different causes of your collapse. Which kind of takes to the misdiagnosis. So I said earlier, a lot of people take different medications or do cocaine in their spare time and don't die. So even though those things have exposed the condition, perhaps there was something underlying it in the first place that made that person more prone to dying. John Skinner is a cardiologist in New Zealand. New Zealand's fantastic. It's only got one tertiary children's hospital. Therefore, it knows everything that goes on in New Zealand, pretty much. So it's perfect for population studies. And John's done a few population studies. He used to be my registrar when I was at Birmingham Children's doing cardiology. And he's interested in SADs. And he looked at near drownings. In other words, children who survived to hospital. And he decided he was going to do cardiac tests on them to see if there's anything underlying this near drowning. And found quite a lot of abnormalities. And I remember when I was in school, somebody who played the clarinet in my orchestra went swimming in the university swimming pools and everyone got out of the pool at closing time, and then eventually somebody said, "Where's Mark?" and went back and he's face down in the water. Why? Now, of course, in those days, in the 1980s, we thought, he drowned. And now we realise, well, no, wait a minute, what was that all about? Why would he have drowned? It was just the swimming pool. He'd been swimming a minute earlier. Why would he have drowned? Oh, must have had a cramp. Now we know a lot more about this. That's probably not the truth. Same goes for epilepsy. Sudden death in epilepsy is a well-known thing. Well, perhaps some of those were misdiagnosed as epileptics in the first place. And if we get that wrong, we label somebody who's an epileptic a SADS, or we label somebody who's got a SADS condition an epileptic, then you're not doing either group a favour, because if you're diagnosed as epileptic, there's a big effect on your life. You can't drive, you can't go climbing mountains and things like that. And in most people, there will be an abnormal ECG, but you're going to hear from our cardiology colleagues in a moment that it's not 100% sure that your ECG will be abnormal. But at least let's do an ECG, so for the ones that are abnormal, we're going to pick things up. So I'm going to hand over to Bridget, and she's going to take you through some ECGs. For those who are not used to reading ECGs, we're going to go relatively quickly because we can't teach you how to read an ECG just in this talk. And for those who are very familiar with ECGs, we are going to show you the abnormalities, but again, we don't want to have a conversation at that kind of level because we've got everything from consultants to student nurses and to first aid providers in this audience. So bear with us while Bridget takes you through some of the classic conditions that cause SADS.
Okay, I'm just going to go through ECGs at a fairly basic level and just run through some abnormal ECGs. As you can see, most people are familiar with the PQRS complex, and it basically represents different depolarisation, repolarisation of the heart. So here we have the normal conduction starting at the SA node. The electrical conduction goes through to the AV node, through the bundle of his, down the two bundle branches, and the McCutcheon node. And this is what causes the depolarisation of the heart. This is what we would probably call a normal. It's been showing what we would call a normal ECG, although there are some sort of ECG changes on here. So going back to the SADS causes, we're just going to have a brief look at cardiomyopathy. Excuse me. The main one being hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, because that is the one we often hear patients have when they've had SADS or come into hospital. And the other ones are the dilated cardiomyopathy, restricted cardiomyopathy, and the arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy as well. Here's an example of the program. Quickly there. So we get the thickening of the left ventricle wall, as you can see. So what we've got here is an ECG that's got some abnormalities on it, and you can see there's some T-wave inversion. Can you see that? Okay. There's some T-wave inversion in the inferior leads, and we've also got some T-wave inversion sort of V5, V6. I think the idea is there's a couple of this. There you go, show it in circles. And what it's showing is that ECG changes, so this is not a normal ECG. So people who are seeing this, medical professionals, nurses like myself, we were thinking that there must be something causing this. Obviously that needs further investigations. Okay, so we'll just briefly talk about the arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy, which is a relatively new one that's been recognised, and it's not always recognised. It tends to be diagnosed post-mortem, found by after doing a cardiac MRI. This is when a small section of the ventricle becomes hypertrophic with a fibrofatty infiltration. And often with this cardiomyopathy, the ECGs are quite subtle, although often they do quite a lot of topics, and often people present with this when they've got a viral illness. Okay, so we'll just go to the congenital heart disease, so things such as Marfan's or various different anomalous coronary artery from birth, things like that. They often have very grossly abnormal ECGs, and often they give us a clue anyway, because we normally know if someone's got congenital heart disease. So so it makes it a little bit easier for us to diagnose. Marfan's often the patient looks a certain way. If they've got Marfan's syndrome, not necessarily recognised on the ECG. Okay, so we're moving on to conduction disease. So all Parkinson White, and we've also got congenital tachycardia. I think we've got ECG here. So in Wolf Parkinson White, you can see you get the shortened PR interval, what we call the delta wave, which basically tells us that this we have an accessory pathway, a different conduction system through the heart, and they often present to A&E or CC or places like that with palpitations. Okay, and the next one is the ion channelopathies. So we have long and short QT syndrome, BRUGADA, and CPVT. I'm out of that one. Here's an example of long QT. So sometimes you can actually see it quite well on the ECG. For example, looking at a complex, we work out the QTC interval by looking when the T wave starts and when the T wave finishes. By working that out, we can work out, what a normal QT interval is. So that gives you an idea of the values. So if someone's got a prolonged QT interval, then often they're at risk of arrhythmias. Okay, the next one is BRUGADA. So this was primarily BRUGADA in 1992. Basically, it's to do with the ion channels through the heart. Sodium is the one that affects this, and it can be identified on the ECG, and sometimes it can't. Sometimes if someone's unwell, that can make the ECG become abnormal, and you can see the BRUGADA in it. But often they can have a normal ECG, and we have to do what we call a provocation test. Some examples here. So this is talking about the sodium channels and potassium channels in BRUGADA, and you often get this broader QRS symptom complex, which looks often like ST innervation, but what it is abnormal. So in an ECG, for example, we've got type 1 BRUGADA, so you've got this strange looking, QRS complex. It looks a bit like the right lung maybe in these leads. That's a type 1. There's type 2, which I think is a little bit tricky to recognise, but again, some subtle abnormalities in it. And type 3, again, we've got this same leads, this sort of ST elevation type looking, but patients presenting perhaps with a different history of the class. So that's when alarm bells need to be ringing in our heads. Okay. So basically, anything dodgy in a V1 to V3, this is how I've calibrated it, with a good history of collapse or anything similar to that, then we should be thinking about what we're going to next and then referring to see a specialist. Oh, and this one, I don't know how well you can see. Can you see that one very well? What it is, this is an ECG from someone from black ethnicity, and it looks, often when you can see this V2, V3, what looks like an ST elevation, but it's in fact normal for that person who's an athlete. So it just kind of put a bit of spanner in work in terms that people do have abnormal ECGs, and that can be normal for them, but we just need to do further investigations to get to the cause of it. That's it. Okay, this one is adrenaline caused by when someone produces a lot of adrenaline or gets very excited or frightened, and it causes them to go to VT or VF. So I know there's examples that Ffion's been telling me about, but patients presenting with collapsing when they get excited. I tell the story. So I was just saying, I looked after a patient a couple of years ago who was on a motorbike. He did the suit at Donington Park, and he used to twice he had a cardiac arrest while he was on his bike and survived and didn't kill anyone in the process because he was racing, and he turned out to have this condition and was told basically never to ride his bike again. And I have to say he was utterly devastated that he couldn't ride his bike again, if anything. But it's just an example of how he got so adrenaline produced so much adrenaline when he was riding his bike, it caused him to go into cardiac arrest. Unfortunately for him, he survived both times. Very lucky man, but couldn't ride his bike again. So Ffion was telling me yesterday about a young woman who had a fit every time her alarm went off. Had been referred to see a specialist, but unfortunately the same thing happened again when the alarm went off. She had a fit, never got to see the specialist in time, unfortunately. Pardon? Because it was the wrong specialist. It was the wrong specialist, okay. But she unfortunately died, apparently, so it's quite sad. Okay.
So that's just a little counter through the sorts of things that could cause that. And I think the one that affects the right ventricle itself is really hard to detect, and that's been something that we're more aware of in the last few years, and for this condition as well. So I mean, this is quite scary really, isn't it? This is someone who's prone to an arrhythmia where the body's own adrenaline, that's what catecholamine is, it's your own adrenaline, will set it off. But the clue is in the history, because they'll either be exercising very hard, because that gets your adrenaline going, or there'll be some sudden thing that happens that causes it to happen. And that's the clue. And of course, if you're not tuned into that, you sideline it because you don't think it's relevant information. And that's why you need to be aware of this condition, because that's what matters, is to pick up on, well, it wasn't actually a fit. She was having probably ventricular tachycardia set off by the alarm going, because we all wake up from sleep and go, what's that? And very sadly got mislabeled as a fit, sent to the neurologist for a first fit clinic, and died before that. One of our own registrars, he doesn't mind me telling the story, his son went into cardiac arrest watching a very dramatic TV programme. They got him back, and he had another cardiac arrest in the resus room at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, and they got him back, and he's fine now, and he's got an internal defibrillator. But he then looked back on things, and he thought, I remember he's fainted a couple of times watching television. And actually, when he, even as a doctor, he just thought, oh, that's weird, my son fainted just sitting down watching television. But that's the thing, you don't faint when you're sitting down watching television. But in retrospect, he was getting arrhythmias every time he was watching something that really got him excited. So what you'll see is that we're all starting to feel a bit unnerved now, and every time I give one of these talks, someone comes up to me and goes, I can't think how many cases I might have missed over the years, I'm getting really worried now. And it's difficult, isn't it? And the poor cardiologists don't want to see every single person who's fainted out there. And when it's July and August and it's hot weather and everybody's fainting left, right and centre, and poor old EMAS get called to transport them to hospital, I'm in the assessment bay of the A&E going, it was a faint, home, it was a faint, home, it was a faint, home. But you've just got to be tuned into some of the things that might get you worried, like the exercise. Just wanted to talk a little bit about what happens if somebody dies in terms of trying to get to the diagnosis. There'll be a bit more on this later in the workshop from the genetics team. But now most coroners have realised that if, pathologists have realised that if there's no obvious cause of death in a young person, then the heart does need to be examined properly by a specialist team. And so the Brompton Hospital will do a very, very structured post-mortem, which is both looking at the heart itself to see if there's any obvious abnormality, and then taking microscopic slices out of it to look at it under the microscope, as well as taking some tissues, because, again, you're going to hear this later, the number of genes that we're now finding that are causing these diseases is growing exponentially. And so we can put tissues through what we call panels of tests, and those panels are changing year on year. So for some families, there'll be a death, and we'll do the screening and not find anything that we think is genetic. But in 5 years' time, when the panel of tests has evolved more in a more sophisticated way, we might pick something up. So they're actually, with the family's permission, of course, being stored so that the panel can be rerun in future years when the panel of tests themselves become more comprehensive. So there's quite a lot goes on at that level. And it's quite important that the GP is involved in coordinating, because the GP looks after the whole family and needs to help coordinate the screening. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that later. And in most parts of the country, for under 18s, there's a sudden unexpected death in childhood gene, and so that process will link up to the cardiac and genetic screening processes. So the genetic influence, we do need to make someone stop and think about any young deaths of any cause, because it could be that drowning, it could be that it was medication or nobody knew, and make them stop and think through their family tree. I was at one of the CRI conferences where they drew out the family tree, you know, the proper circles and squares and things, and it was quite interesting. As you got further away in the family, that person died age 18, that person died age 24, and it was quite, it struck me how many deaths you can have. Recognise those collapses that aren't just a simple faint caused by typical faint type things, and that actually get that ECG done, because it will pick up the majority of conditions. But if you're worried and the ECG is normal, you should still refer on, because there are quite a few people out there with normal ECGs. Fabrice Mwamba had full-scale FA type screening, and still it didn't show up at the time. So that's back to the website. So what I'm going to do next is, I'm happy to take the questions, but hand over to the cardiology team, who are going to explain a little bit more about how difficult it can be to reach a diagnosis in some cases, and the burden which they carry of a lot of people being referred. And of course, we want a lot of people to be referred because we don't want to miss things, but actually they will see a lot of patients and then end up diagnosing them as normal. So I'm going to hand over to my colleagues at the back, Dr. Samani and Dr. Duttier, to tell us about what they do when they get these referrals into their hospital.